Hi, my name is Robert Woods, and I'm here to talk about my lesson, along with my pretest and my post-test on my student Karen. Now, the lesson I created has to do with subtracting two different sets of quantities. A quantity is terms on the inside of a set of parentheses that have a variable or it's just a constant. The students need to learn and they need to understand that you cannot combine terms that are inside two different sets of quantities. They should know this from the previous lesson of adding two different quantities. But also now when you distribute the number in front of the second set, that you are distributing a negative one and taking the inverse of it. Now the students first need to see inverse and what is the inverse. So we start off the lesson by a quick do now. The students come in, take their seats. Now, when they're sitting in the seats, I take out my wallet and the kids all get all happy. Money's coming out. The kids love money. So you give a kid a bill, let's say it's a $10 bill. You say, okay, how much money do you have? He holds up the class, I have $10. Now you say, I'm going to add on the inverse of that, and you take it away from them. The kids need to realize what number did they add on. They've had previous knowledge on integers, so they should know I'm adding on a negative 10. Now, this is what we're going to get into the lesson. Now we're going to be distributing a negative 1 to the second set of parentheses. So, they need to understand whenever you're distributing a negative 1 into any quantity set, the signs are going to change. It's the same number, but different signs. So, they start off the lesson by, we first review taking the sum of two quantities from the day before and getting a refresher into math for the period. Now, first they're going to go into an example that is 7x minus 5 plus 10x minus 10. We go over that. Students, what do we do first? Previous questioning. We have to distribute the positive ones in. The quantities don't change. Let's circle and box like terms. Circle and box like terms. And we get our answer of 17x minus 15. Now students continue, and then we talk about other examples. We do the same exact examples, but now subtract the two. And we show the kids that when you're distributing our negative one, actually now it's a nice visual, that they are actually taking the inverse of the second set of the quantity. Throughout the lesson, the students are constantly being questioned, can I combine these two sets of these two terms? The student says, no, you have to x and y. Why can I not? And the proper wording that we're looking for is they are not like terms. Why are they not like terms? Because one has a variable and one does not. Or if they each have a variable and you still can't combine them, I cannot combine them because the first term has an x and the second term has a y. They have different variables. You cannot combine terms that are different variables. Therefore, they are not like terms. So our expression can end up as 3x plus 5y. Now, students have a lot of problem with this, especially starting off in 7th grade, because they're all in their past, they've always got an answer for just a finite number. The answer is 10. The answer is 12. They've never gotten an answer of the answer is 3x plus 5. So a lot of kids will combine 3x and 5 together, and they will say it is 8x. When in terms that is incorrect, because you cannot combine them because they're not like terms. After the lesson, the way to figure out the students and if for their informal assessment at the end of the period, they are given an exit slip. This exit slip composes of two separate questions. First question being combine any like terms, box like terms first. So when they're boxing like terms, it'll show me exactly when they hand it in at the end of the period, can they recognize the like terms? Can they recognize the 3x and the positive 7x to get 10x? And can they see that a positive 5 and a negative 10 is negative 5 and not 15? This is bringing in their refresher of combining integers. Now, question 2 is subtract these two quantities. This brings in the new lesson for the period. The kids have to show that they can demonstrate by distributing in the negative 1. Now, for the assessment on Karen, one of my students who did not start school until 1st grade, and at home there's another language, primary language spoken. So she's having difficulty with reading comprehension in math. Her math skills are completely fine. If you give her combine these like terms and you tell her, she's able to combine the like terms. But when she's given several sentences and she has to set up the expression and combining them, she falls apart, she gets frustrated and very fidgety in her seat. So the first pretest is given. She's given the following ditto She's not told that she's being timed on it. She's basically just being observed. She takes the test. She's first given just simple directions, combine these terms. And she has no problem in combining these terms. Problem 2 says to simplify the expression, which is a nice addition problem for adding two expressions. She knows to distribute in and put it in. Distribute out and then combine. Those skills she is fine and perfectly she can do. But the third problem is a nice paragraph. This she struggles with. She sits there for about 7 minutes in front of it, gets frustrated, and just writes out the numbers and leaves it. This entire 3 problems takes her about 9.5 minutes. These 9.5 minutes, the 7 minutes was spent on the third problem, and she didn't even answer it fully. So we are saying that she has a reading comprehension problem. Now, the way to go about this is we talk to Mom. In school, we talk to Karen about reading the sentence first, then going back and figuring out what it's asking for, look for clues, underline, highlight, because she wasn't underlining, highlighting beforehand. Also at home, I will be sending home dittos that Mom can write on a flashcard, and Karen's going to read these problems to her mother, and then she can tell her mother what is happening and what is going on. Now, after several weeks of practicing this, Karen takes a post-test. Now, this post-test, again, sets up 3 different problems. Almost identical to the pre-test. First question's combining like terms. She flies through this, combines like terms. She makes one small little mistake, and when she's combining a negative 7x and a 5x, she leaves it as a positive 2x and not a negative. That's a prior skill that we can master later on. But she was able to identify like terms. Now, for the second one, instead of being an addition problem, it is a subtraction problem of 2 expressions. And she distributes the negative 1 properly. She's able to do this. Now, when she combines properly also. On the third problem, after several weeks of practice, these 3 problems still took Karen over 9.5 minutes. But in the third problem, she took her time, she read. While being observed, she was highlighting all important terms. She was going back and you could hear her read them out loud, slowly, several times. Now, she was able to comprehend it and set up the problem correctly. But this asks for how many more runs did the home team score than the away team. This is a subtraction problem. Karen added them. So with her adding, she did distribute properly and combine properly. Now, it still shows us that Karen is still having a hard time finding keywords for math. So words like sum and difference, where it's adding and addition, adding and subtraction, she put adding here on mistake, but she was able to set it up properly in the right form. And she was understanding what was going on. So this is a big leap forward. The gap is getting smaller for Karen. Now, to move forward in the DA process, we're still going to be pushing Karen at home. But instead now, the work that I sent home to Mom is work that is the home team scored 5x runs and the away team scored 10x. How many more runs, or what is the difference between the home team and the away team? Karen will be going through this and working on figuring out how that is subtraction and now not addition. For any further questions, please email me at rwoods@toro.edu. Have a fantastic day, and thank you for listening.